Hey Fae folk, welcome back. So for today's video, I want to talk about some new Monster High Skeletor dolls. Yes, I'm going to chime in on the Hocus Pocus 3-pack. So the first thing that I have to say is that I haven't seen this movie. I actually thought about not making this video because I haven't seen this movie. And I think it's because it's like a little bit more embarrassing to me to not have seen it. Like, not that I'm judging anyone else who hasn't seen it, obviously, but just internally, I feel like a little bit embarrassed because with other Skeletor dolls from like proper horror films, it's like, okay, I've said it before, I can read horror, I cannot watch horror, it just doesn't sit well with me. So of course I haven't seen the movie, but with Hocus Pocus, like I don't have that excuse. And so it's just like a little, like, I don't know, I feel judged by the general populace when I haven't seen pieces of media, but I don't consume that much media, especially movies. I'm not really a big movie person. So I haven't seen Hocus Pocus. And for a second I was like, okay, do you maybe want to stay in your lane and not talk about these dolls that are very obviously not aimed at you? And then I thought, no, why would I want to do that? I obviously want to still share my opinion. No, but in actuality, I do think that there is some benefit to having people give their opinions who aren't like fans of the movie, because I'm looking at it purely from an aesthetic and like a supposed quality standpoint, right? Obviously, like there's no judgment to anyone who likes these dolls. I don't have all terrible things to say about them. I'll like say that right now. But I do think that a lot of people who are enjoying these dolls or are excited for these dolls are excited because of the nostalgia or just because they're a big fan of the movie. And that's totally valid, totally real. But I do think that there is maybe some value in having someone who doesn't have those connections look at the dolls in a more like analytical sense. I don't know. I hope that makes sense. I don't know. I have thoughts and I never shut up. So here I am to talk about the Hocus Pocus dolls. Obviously, if I didn't like sprinkle in enough hints of a disclaimer during that little intro there, these are these are just my opinions. You're totally free to disagree. If you love the set and you think there's nothing wrong with it, that's chill, and I hope you have good luck getting it. But I am going to critique it somewhat, so just please don't be offended if I say something that you don't agree with. It's chill, we just have different thoughts. But yes, with that being said, let's go ahead and actually start taking a look at these dolls. So of course we have to get into like the not exciting detail part. I have a picture, I screenshotted this, so I knew I would get the information right. So these dolls release on Mattel Creations, of course, lovely, on October 3rd for Fang Club members, and then they're going to be available October 4th for non-Fang Club members. So for once, the Fang Club is getting some use, which is cool to see. They are retailing at $125 for the 3-pack, and that is, of course, just in the US, and then plus shipping and handling. Anyone outside of the US is going to pay a little bit to a lot of it more if you were trying to buy these dolls, just because, I don't know, Mattel logic. But yeah, those are like the basics of it. Then taking a look at the dolls themselves. Like I said, have not seen this movie, so I had to like look up the images from the film to like really try to figure out what's going on here. And while I'm looking at this, I'm going to look at each sister individually, and then we'll talk kind of full thoughts on all of them all together. But I did also want to make some comparisons because I believe Disney themselves made some Hocus Pocus dolls at one point. I think that they were limited edition dolls. Like, definitely let me know in the comments because I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe that they were like, you know, the very high level of dolls from Disney, not like Playline or anything like that. So I will be comparing those as well to the Skeletor dolls. So I'm like working with a lot of stuff here. We're looking at the movie, the other dolls, and now the Skeletor dolls. But I just feel like that's a good way to kind of really judge these dolls and see what they look like based on other, like the media, but also other dolls that have already been produced. So we're going to be starting out with Winifred. I did memorize all their names for this video. I didn't watch the movie, but I memorized all their names. So I'm going to take a look at the movie first because that's obviously the source material. That's what like I'm familiarizing myself with. Winifred does have a very, very distinct look. And honestly, all three of them do look pretty distinct. I think it's super fun, super cool. Winifred, she's got like the curly hair, the red hair. She's got like the teeth situation going on. You know, I understand what's happening now, but then when we take a look at the doll herself, I do like how the hair was executed. I feel like that's quite a cute, like monster highification of, I almost called her Sarah. No, wrong Winifred, of Winifred's hair. I do like the face sculpt. I like that they have like included her teeth being like a little bit larger in the front, just because that does feel like such a like core character design element for like her character in the movie. So I would have been very disappointed if Monster High did not include that. I don't know if this is a new face sculpt. I'm horrible at face sculpts unless they're like aggressively obvious. So I'm not really the person to talk about with that. I do think that her makeup is quite cute. I can't really tell like any in-depth makeup on like the movie still. I'm just looking at like one image, so you know, maybe not the best, but it seems fine. I definitely think that the Monster High one looks a little bit more colorful, but this is like, again, the Monster Highification of Winifred, so like I kind of get it. Then moving on down to her outfit. Do I want to get into this now or do I want to wait? I I do have questions. I don't understand where the like big gold neck piece to belt came from, and that's going to go for all of the characters you'll see. Like it's not in the movie, but there's not even anything close to it in the movie, right? Like it's not as though she has this huge necklace in the movie and they've kind of adapted that for the doll. Like there's nothing there, and I am just extremely confused about that choice, which again is going to be something that we have to deal with throughout this video. It's just a lot of questions here. I don't hate the green, like the printing on the main part of her dress. I don't hate the sleeves necessarily. I do think the fabric looks unbelievably cheap. So there's that. We're going to talk about it. Comparing her to the Disney Store edition of the doll, I do think that Mattel with Monster High has beat them out with the face. Maybe like the face sculpt is technically more accurate here, but I do think there's just a little bit more charm with the Monster High one. To be fair, though, that might just be because I like Monster High, so like, who really knows? However, with the hair, I definitely think Monster High did it better. Technically speaking, I think it's slightly less accurate because the front is more like slicked back into these two like puffs, it looks like. Whereas I do think that the Disney Store version is more accurate to how the hair might have actually been styled, but the bright red, sorry, that was funny to me. The bright red is very jarring on the Disney one. That one definitely feels less accurate than the more orangey tone to the Skelector edition. So that's pretty cool. However, the Disney Store definitely ate Skelector up in terms of the clothing. Like, I do understand, again, I believe that these were limited edition dolls, so they would have been like somewhere between $100 and $120, somewhere like that. So, I mean, that is one doll for the cost of what Monster High is like asking for 3. So I do understand that there's that. However, I also think these might have been 17-inch dolls, so they are bigger dolls to begin with. The clothing is just so much better. First of all, it's actually accurate to what I can see from the movie stills. So there's that in favor of the Disney ones. But there's also like layers and different fabrics, and I can't tell you anything about the quality. I can tell you that the like photography quality, like just photographing the clothing, this does not look as cheap as the Skelector ones. But, you know, that is that. Shoes, there's like a whole ass debate right now going on about object heels and Monster High, and I don't feel like now is really the time to get into that. I don't know if I'm going to talk about that ever in like a dedicated video. I don't really have that many thoughts, but we have object heels for all 3 of the dolls. So Winifred here just has solid green boots with object heels. They sure are something. I don't know what her shoes look like because I couldn't, you know, see that in the image that I have for the movie. I will say that I think the sculpting looks really cool, but it is a huge shame there's not an ounce of painted detail on here. That's kind of disappointing. But we move on to Mary, who I don't have like a good picture of her really for like her hair. Because I feel like the hair is a very iconic part of her look, right? And I mean, I have like I think this might have been like the poster or something where you can kind of sort of see it. It's a little bit hard to see, but y'all get the gist of it, and I can't see her outfit at all. I am assuming, however, that she probably didn't have the huge gold chunky piece. Just an assumption that I'm making. However, again, I do think that they did a really good job with like the face and the hair and everything. I feel like the hairstyle for such a difficult hairstyle, like that's not an easy hairstyle to replicate. I feel like they definitely did a good job with it. Adding the purple in. I don't know if her hair was purplish at all in the movie. It just looks black where I can see, but like, I don't really know. I do think that the purple kind of adds some dimension and is cute. And then she also does have a little slight smirk. I wish that they had exaggerated it more because even just looking at like the one still image I have of like the little kind of mouth thing that she does, it's very exaggerated and it's very subtle to me on the Monster High doll. I appreciate that they did include it in some capacity, but I do think it would have been cool to see more of that. I don't know, maybe I'm just like nitpicking here. However, one of the big things with this is that supposedly this doll might have a new body type. because in the movie you can see that Mary is like a little bit thicker. To be fair, Winifred is also like a little bit thicker, but I think Mary might be like the largest out of the three sisters. And so there is some rumor going around that Mary, for her doll, might have a new body sculpt. I will just say this. If she does, you cannot tell. I think there is a compelling argument to be made that her clothes are just very loose and she has a normal body. If she doesn't, it isn't enough to be obvious to me. And it's just, I think that especially with Monster High showing in G3 that they are capable of making more plus size dolls with like Caddy, it is just a little bit weird that they couldn't go that far with Mary. Like, you've proven that as a company you're capable, as a brand you're capable. I understand this is Gen 1 Skelector versus G3 Playline. However, I do just think like they have shown they can make plus size dolls. They can make dolls with bigger bodies. And the fact that I'm questioning whether this doll actually has a bigger body to be accurate to the character and the movie, or whether her clothing is just loose, I don't know. I just feel like that's a little bit questionably executed, I guess is the best way that I could put it. It just doesn't feel quite right. I think I did Winifred slightly out of order, but taking a look at Mary's shoes, it is a very similar situation. She's got object heels. She's got no painted detail. There's not really a lot to talk about with the shoes. Looking at the Disney Store doll for comparison, I'm assuming because they were so movie accurate with Winifred's outfit that they also were with Mary's outfit. So like, obviously this one has the other, or like the Skelector one, beat out in terms of the detail and everything with the clothing pieces. I do think that the hair is like fine for either one. I honestly don't have really a big gripe. Obviously though, the Disney Store doll did more of that little smirk, and also this doll is properly plus size. There's no question about that, and I think that she looks really, really good for it. So there is that in her favor. Then lastly, we have to take a look at Sarah Sanderson, who honestly like looks the least detailed out of the three to me. I don't know if this is a brand new head sculpt. Again, there's not any like really defining factors. If we take a look at the images I can see of her, I don't know. It's like, again, I don't have as detailed an image of her, but I feel like you can kind of get the vibes. And I do feel like they're a little bit off. Like, I understand the whole point of Monster High is to like make these characters more glamorous and like, I don't know if modern is quite the right word, but definitely more glamorous, I think is a good way to put it. I will say I think that Sarah looks a little bit too put together. Like the other two, Winifred and Mary, have kind of a kookiness about them. So I feel like even though their hair is like relatively neat and tidy and the clothing is like cut nicely and everything like that, I feel like they still carry some of that oddness with them, whereas Sarah to me looks too clean. Like this hair is too nice, her face and her makeup are too nice, her brows are like not bushy enough. She has like really, really pretty bushy brows, it looks like, from again what I'm looking at. I love that for her. In the images in like Hocus Pocus that I'm using as references for my comparisons here, I feel like all three of them go together. All three of them look like sisters. Like that makes sense to me. They all have a little bit of an unhinged energy that I actually really do appreciate. And while I feel like that is somewhat translated in the other two sisters, Sarah just flat out looks too good, if I'm being honest. Like she looks too clean, a little bit too like model-esque and not witchy enough. I don't know, just not really the vibe for me personally. Her outfit I also think looks just the worst. I don't know. Like, I honestly don't think any of them look great, but I feel like her fabrics look, for some reason, especially egregious to me. The plastic piece is also a lot of plastic. And then the shoes, again, exact same situation, object heels, no painted details. Looking at the Disney Store version of her doll, I have similar complaints when it comes to the face, just because, again, I don't think that they really nailed it, because she doesn't seem to have a unique like facial thing that she like just either has as a part of her character, or like the way she moves her mouth or whatever. From what I can tell, it doesn't seem like she has that. I don't know. So yeah, even the Disney Store one looks too clean, but at least the outfit looks nice. Again, that's kind of a big theme here. So taking a look at them all together, I mean, I guess we can look at the box first. The box is like a basic Skelector box. On the front, it has pictures of all of the dolls. It's obviously going to be a bigger box because it's a 3-pack. And then on the back, there's a house and a cat. They also come with a little cat that I'm assuming is in the movie. So, I mean, points for that, because I do love cats in any capacity. But looking at them all three together, I just don't think they look great, if I'm being honest. And I do feel kind of bad, because I know people are excited about this, and obviously you're allowed to be excited. but I just do think that they don't look stellar. The faces and like the makeup and the hair and everything, with the exception of Sarah, who again, I just think looks too put together, I think that they really nailed it. And I feel like that's something that Monster High is always quite good at, like the faces that they do, and not necessarily always the hair, but like the sculpting is really, really on point with Monster High in general. But everything else about these dolls just looks honestly off to me. I think that across the board, the fabrics look genuinely horrific. They look like really, really cheap Hasbro or really, really cheap Mattel Disney princess fabrics. Like, you know, the dolls that you'll see that have like the molded on top and like the really shitty satiny fabric on their skirt. That's what it looks like to me. Like, it looks so low quality, even in photos. Like, you know it's bad when you can tell the quality is not good via a photo, right? That's just not something that's great to me. I don't love that 2 out of the 3 of them have short skirts when all 3 of them appear to have long skirts in the movie. That's just kind of a weird choice. Also, Winifred and Mary have essentially the same tights on, except Winifred's stripes are green, or socks. I don't know if they're tights or socks. And Mary's are black and white. I don't know. They also all have the same earrings, which was certainly a choice. Overall, I just am very confused because I think from the head up, I look at this and I'm like, okay, yeah, Hocus Pocus, like I get it, even not being a fan. Sure, I have my complaints about Sarah, but I understand it. But from the neck down, you cannot convince me these dolls are worth $125. That is dead-ass dollar store doll fabric. No shade to the dollar store. They're supposed to be cheap. This is a $125 collector set with dollar store fabric. The dresses aren't like the right length. There's like awkward layers. It looks like all of Mary's top is like sewn together. Like, it's not different fabrics. It's just kind of like there. They have these huge chunky plastic pieces that don't make any sense at all because, again, it's not something that was in the movie. Like, if that was a consolidation, like if they all had belts and all had necklaces, and so it was just like the way that the sculptors decided to kind of merge those into one piece or whatever for budget purposes, that's different. They don't have this at all in the movies. Like, they just flat out don't. And I'm very confused about why that was the choice. And I have heard a lot of other people compare these dolls to like G3 Monster High Playline dolls. And I think that's a very fair comparison because if we're being 100% honest here, like Sculptimate Secrets, I do think Sculptimate Secrets is like kind of sort of going downhill. Like, they're exciting me less and less. But if you were to take, say, wave 1 of Sculptimate Secrets dolls, those dolls obviously have the huge locker with the reveal thing, but they have the doll that has more articulation than I believe these have, because I don't think Selector dolls have the chest joint, but G3 has the chest joint. And obviously, like, aside from that, they've got like the wrists and everything all the same. Diverse bodies, because you have different body types with these Sculptimate Secrets dolls. So that's taking into account in the budget too. The Sculptimate Secrets dolls typically do have some plastic accessories, but they have 2 full outfits made of fabric. Is that fabric always the best? No. But is it always this fabric? Also no. And so the fact that for $30 you can get a Sculptimate Secrets doll for Monster High that has a huge locker, again, 2 pieces of clothing and a doll for $30. Like, I understand with Hocus Pocus there is a licensing thing because it's not just Monster High, it is Monster High in collaboration with a film. So I do understand that that plays into it. But if I bought 3 Sculptimate Secrets dolls, that would be $90 US. So this is $35 more expensive for dolls that ultimately look significantly worse. At least they look worse to me. Like, I don't know, I feel mean when I say stuff like that, but I just think if you take away any like love for the movie or any nostalgia or whatever the case might be, and you look at this purely on a quality basis, these dolls are not wearing nice clothes. Like, they just aren't. And there is a place, there is a reason to use these sorts of fabrics in dolls, because I do think that, you know, again, going back to like the dollar store dolls, I think that people who have kids who want to play with dolls, or people who want to collect dolls who can't afford stuff that is 50, 60, 70 plus dollars, like these collector level dolls, should absolutely be allowed to enjoy those. And I understand that like companies, when they're making super budget dolls, are going to use lower quality and cheaper fabrics to maintain that budget. And I feel like that's fine because there's still people who can enjoy that and who deserve to enjoy that. But when you're putting out a collector level item and you're giving half of the dress that the characters actually wore plus oh my God, I'm so like flustered and irritated, plus plastic, but like minus quality fabric. I just genuinely, just overall, I do think that these are really underwhelming coming at it from an outside perspective. Of course, again, if you really love the film, I understand that like you might be willing to buy these dolls even if you do have problems with the dresses, or maybe you just don't care, and that's fine. Like if you think this is great, more power to you. And again, I wish you luck because hopefully, you know, fan club members have the early access. So hopefully any of y'all who have the fan club will have the opportunity to get these. And then outside of that, when it comes to be October 4th and anyone can get them, all I can say again is good luck, because the Mattel Creations website is an absolute nightmare at the best of times. So I can only imagine that with a movie as popular as Hocus Pocus, they're going to have some troubles. But yeah, I guess my final thoughts are pretty decent face sculpts, pretty decent hair and makeup and everything. But these look like they should be $90 tops, not $125. So that's my take on it. Pretty much the same take that I always have with like Mattel Creations dolls. It's just, I don't know, I feel like Monster High very, very, very rarely seems to be charging an appropriate price for any of their collector dolls, like a price that feels worth it in my opinion. But obviously that is just my opinion. I definitely want to hear your thoughts on these dolls in the comments down below. If you guys like agree with my statement that like the faces are pretty good, like the base dolls are pretty solid, but the clothes are questionable, or if you, sorry, I'm like very thirsty. I've been ranting. If you like don't think that it's that bad, let me know that as well. Let me know if you're trying to get these, all of that. I just, you know, I'm sitting here talking in my basement, which is a literal echo chamber. I can hear my voice popping back at me from the walls. So I would like to hear your thoughts as well. But yeah, those are mine. So I do hope you guys enjoyed me ranting a little bit today. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or your night, or whatever it might be, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye guys.